fat from the food he'd put on the damn table, well, he lost all tenderness for that woman, put a bullet through that boy's skull, and had seriously considered putting one in hers, too, had he not been so inclined to clean up after himself. "Wrap him up in that bedspread and get his ass down to the car," he had commanded Dante and Leon, who had been busy taking liberties with pretty Charlie bleeding, crying, and snotting all over the bed. Looking at her, he'd almost felt sorry for her, and it dawned on him, briefly, that most women would probably rather be dead than have a train pulled on them. He looked down again at the mess that was left of Zoo. What the hell was that boy's real name, he wondered, agitated. Got brains and shit all over that new TV I just bought. The mistake he'd made in that moment was one he'd spend damn near 30 years of his life paying for. Uncle stared at that chessboard, scratched his scalp, and then ran his hands across the crop of silver hair capping his head, thinking back to the decision he'd made to get rid of that body right then and there. Every now and then, he was still tortured over it. What if he'd gone ahead and broken her little neck like he'd planned on doing, and then taken them both out together and saved himself a trip back? To this day, he didn't know what he'd been thinking or why it had been so important to get Zoo out of that apartment. Divine intervention. Couldn't have been anything else, he'd concluded. The Lord always did work in mysterious ways, and the good Lord must have had it in for Uncle that night, and he'd gone ahead and set his ass up. "Get rid of that shit, Leon, man," Dante said, glancing in the rearview mirror. "We got Whitey on us." Leon threw his weed out of the window and blew out the smoke in his mouth along with it, then quickly sprayed air freshener all over himself. Red and blue lights flashed in the distance, and Uncle slowly opened his eyes as the sound of the sirens screamed to his soul that his life was about to change forever. The Lincoln Continental gradually drifted over to the side of the road and finally stopped. The state trooper approached the car cautiously on the driver's side, shined his flashlight in Dante's eyes, then he put it on Leon, and finally rested it on Uncle. "License and registration?" he said in his thick southern redneck accent. Dante pulled out his license. Leon handed him the registration from the glove compartment. The cop studied both documents entirely too long. "Well, now, this don't look right," he sniffed. "Says here, right here on this registration, that you go by the name of Uncle Boy, but, that ain't the name on your license." Dante sighed his frustration. "Nah, man, Uncle's in the back. This is his car. I'm just the driver." The patrolman put his flashlight on Uncle again and then laughed. "Oh, so you just the driver, and what the hell are you?" He directed his question to Leon. "The bodyguard?" Leon didn't respond. He shined his light back on Uncle. "You famous or something, boy? You got drivers and bodyguards and shit. You some kind of singer or basketball player or something?" He laughed again. "Hell, maybe you the president of the goddamned United States of America. Is that it?" Uncle didn't say a word. "Why you pulling us over?" Dante finally asked. The patrolman suddenly stopped laughing and flashed his light into Dante's eyes. "You were driving recklessly, boy, swerving back and forth all over the goddamned road. If I didn't know better, I'd say you fellas had been drinking or something." He sniffed again. Out of nowhere, another patrolman appeared, but on Leon's side of the car. "This one here smells like weeds and lilacs." "You boys need to get out of the car," the first patrolman commanded. When no one moved, he put his hand on the handle of his pistol in his hip holster. "Do I need to say it again?" Those motherfuckers weren't as bad as they thought they were, Uncle remembered thinking, sitting in the back of the patrol car, with his hands cuffed behind his back, laughing under his breath.